Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. So recently I've gotten a bunch of questions and comments about the hand screw clamp that I used in episode 15 for shaping the cabriole legs on the tea table. So I figured I would just do a quick tip on some different work holding strategies and options for holding work while you're shaping it. Obviously when you're working with things like the cabriole legs, there's not a real easy way to clamp this in a vise to work it. You can, clamp the top section up in the vise, but even then, that can become difficult at points. So we have to figure out other ways to hold these things while we're shaping them. So the one that you might have seen me use in episode 15 is just a simple hand screw clamp. What I did was I cut V-notches in each of the jaws, and that allows me to go ahead and clamp the cabriole leg in there on an angle, so I can work it from the top corner, or I can turn the clamp and work the flat side. And I got the idea for this from a clamp that I saw down in Williamsburg that they use for the same purpose. And it's not really a hand screw clamp, it's modeled a little bit differently, but the concept is the same. It's two wooden jaws with a V-notch cut in them. And the other great thing about this is these V-notches are great for holding curved stuff like dowels too. So, you can clamp more than square stock in here. So I have this one, and I also made a smaller one that I use for smaller stock, whether it be square stock or, again, curved stock like dowels. Maybe if you're want to shave some chair spindles, use the small one to do small round stock. Another option is to use a pipe clamp or a bar clamp. So what you can do is you can clamp up the leg between the clamping jaws of the bar clamp or the pipe clamp, and then you can clamp this in your face vise. This doesn't work so well for me because I have the twin screw vise, and the ends of the clamp typically get in the way. I can't grab the bar or the pipe with my vise because the clamp heads get in the way. But if you have a narrower standard face vise on your bench, or if you have a leg vise, this is a great option. Just clamp it up between the clamp heads of the pipe clamp or the bar clamp, and then you can clamp the bar itself into your face vise so that you can work on your stock. So another option, if you don't have the ability to hold a clamp, or if you do have one, is a shaving horse. You can simply take your stock, clamp it in the head of the shaving horse, and you can go ahead and work your stock on your shaving horse. And most shaving horses, mine included, have a V-notch cut in the crossbar, which allows you to hold stock on its corner as well, not just flat. So it allows you to get to all different sides to be able to work that stock. Still, another thing you can do if you have access to a lathe in your shop is to hold your stock between lathe centers. This allows you to freely turn the stock as you're working on it. You can tighten up. If you have a lathe like mine, you can just use a mallet to tighten up the puppet on this side in the dead center. If you have a standard lathe, you tighten up your screw to tighten it up slightly to hold it in place, lock the indexing head, and you can spin it around and you've got access to all sides. But if you don't have a lathe, you can still use this method. A lot of benches have a tail vise and bench dogs in the bench. an option, what you can do is to take 2 of your bench dogs, make 2 wooden bench dogs that fit in your dog holes. And in those bench dogs, drive a nail through both sides of the bench dog, completely through the 2 bench dogs. And what you then end up having is basically 2 miniature puppets that fit into the dog holes in your workbench. And you can use those nails that stick out of those tall bench dogs to hold stock in the same manner. So that's another way you can do things. And as a side note to anyone thinking about building this lathe, lesson learned: don't build your treadle out of pine. So what if you're not working on something, like cabriole legs or something long where you can hold it in the ways we've shown so far? What if you're working on something really little? How do you hold something like this? When I'm doing small applied carvings like that, one of the most useful appliances is just this carving jack. And you may have remembered me talking about this in the episode on workshop appliances. And this is a neat little item. Really all it is, it's two pieces of 2x8, looks like, that are, there's a through mortise and tenon with a wedge in there to hold everything together, in the shape of a T. And what I do is I can clamp this in my bench vise, and it gets the work up nice and high. When I'm working on something small, like a small applied carving like this, I take the carving blank before I do any carving to it, cut it out with a bow saw, and then glue it with, to another piece of wood, with some paper between the piece and the wood so that I can easily separate it later. And then I can just take this piece of backing wood, this piece of pine, and clamp it down to the carving jack. You can screw it, nail it, whatever. And it just gives you a way to hold that work while you're working on it, and keeps big monster clamps out of the way, so you can just clamp to the sides out of the way and you can use it up here. It's also great not just for carving, but working on any type of small pieces. If you're cutting dovetails for a small box or a small drawer and you want to chisel those dovetails, you want to get that work up a little higher, it works great for that too. Anything that's small, detailed work that you want to get closer to you and be able to hold that work while you're working on it, because it can be difficult to clamp small pieces. So the carving jack is a great way to do that. And one final way that we're going to see, when I get to making the knee blocks for this table, for holding small parts, is really these small hand screw clamps. These are really great. When we get to cutting out some knee blocks later, you're going to see me using a small hand screw like this, because it's difficult to hold such a small piece of wood for shaping. But what you can do is take this small hand screw and just clamp the piece into the hand screw clamp, and once you have it clamped in the hand screw, you can then clamp the hand screw into your bench vise, just like we did when I did when I was working on the cabriole legs. And this gets the work up away from the bench top, raises it up, gives you access to do any scroll cutting or whatever with your coping saw or your bow saw, and just gives you another way to hold your work. So I hope some of these methods are useful. Maybe you'll be able to adopt some of them. Maybe maybe you're already using some of these little tricks, and maybe you learned something and you found some of them useful, and maybe you'll be able to use them in your own shop. So we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching.